Hi, Mike Fleming here. Always good to be part of these great Contenders panels. And I'm here today to talk about Sinners. Now, this is a movie. You could say it's a genre movie. You could say it's about vampires. But those kind of movies usually sit it out during award season. But those who know the work of Ryan Coogler, starting with Fruitvale Station and then including Creed and then the Black Panther films, expect a lot more. And they're not going to be surprised that this one has legs and is right smack in the center of award season. So please welcome Ryan Coogler, who wrote, directed, and produced this movie with his wife, Cindy.
Y'all move your feet now. Come on now.
Somebody take me in your arms tonight. All right. Somebody take me in your arms tonight. Yeah, yeah. Somebody take me in your arms tonight.
Blues wasn't forced on us like that religion. No, so we brought this with us from home. It's magic what we do. It's sacred. It's big.
There are legends of people born with the gift of making music so true it can pierce the veil between life and death, conjuring spirits from the past
Somebody take me
and the future.
Somebody take me in your arms tonight. Oh. Somebody take me.
No shit. Preacher boy. Shit,
Man, oh man. See what I mean about expecting more from this man than just a blues number? The connection to all those different cultures. I sat there and I was like, I'd never seen anything like this before. So Ryan, let me start this way, and we'll incorporate that into what I want to say is, Fruitvale Station was about someone, Oscar Grant, Creed was a spin-off. Black Panther, that was a Marvel character. You broke pieces of yourself to make a universal connection with an audience, and I love you for it forever. But this was the first one that you created really out of whole cloth. Why was it important for you to take that risk and bear yourself with an original story that worked in facets of your life and things that you picked up? Tell us why now.
Man, I think it was, because truly like the global film going audience had given so much to me. I feel so blessed that, you know, at my age, each film that I've ever written and directed has been released theatrically, has been released at some level of internationally, and I don't take that for granted, because sitting in the theater was where I fell in love with movies. This art form has changed my life, it's changed my family's lives. It's enabled me to travel the world. I'm jet lagged right now because I just came back from Europe, talking about the film, and I got my first passport because of a movie I made in film school got accepted into a festival abroad. Like film has literally changed the arc of my life, you know. And I looked up, and we were going through two really intense labor disputes, the SAG strike, the Writers Guild strike. I'm a member of the Writers Guild. There was a lot of anxiety about the business, whether the business was going to go away or not, due to changing viewing habits. And I realized, man, like if the movie stopped, I would have never done something that was truly, totally me, and that made me sad, you know. So it was really like something where I didn't want to be chicken shit. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to have hid behind all these different franchises and other things and not ever really truly show, like, all of myself in a cinematic context. You know, I grew up loving weird movies, horror cinema and literature. I hadn't made anything in that space, and I feel like I hadn't made enough moments that were surprising. You know what I mean? Even though I had done that before, I wanted to make a movie full of them. You know what I mean? And more than anything, I felt like it was just a time for me to get together with all of my colleagues and comrades. We were getting older. You know what I mean? We buying minivans and shit now. I could see our lives like. I could see it becoming like decreasingly likely that if I picked up the phone and called them and said, "Hey, meet me in New Orleans for 4 months," they would say yes. You know. So it was very clear that the time was now or never. You know.
Well, now, so tell us about this scene. Where did that idea come from? And I wonder how much of the courage to do something like this came out of the plunge and the awakening of Africa for you with Black Panther?
Yeah, that's a great question. Each thing I've ever had an opportunity to make, I built off everything that I made before, and having an opportunity to direct Black Panther gave me the opportunity to travel to the continent for the first time, which was like a lifelong dream for me. And I've since been back several times, but it was helpful to kind of dig into the research of the connection between African Americans here that have been here for 4 centuries here in the U.S. To the continental Africans and the cultures there, and it was a real revelation for me, in my research, how much of that culture that we held on to against all of the odds of enslavement. And this wasn't totally in conversation with that, but in a different way. I realized that as an African American, I had made it back to the continent, which was a place that my ancestors had been removed for almost half a millennia, before I actually made it back to the American South, which we left, fairly recently. You know what I mean? My grandma who's the oldest member of my family. She left Texas when she was 12 years old. She's 97 now. So that's a lot less time. And I found myself thinking like, man, how come I had this, how come I didn't want to go? What was the shame there? What was the pain there? And what was I losing by not engaging with that? And I had been there in Atlanta for some time working on the Panther films, but I was there for work, and I was turning Atlanta into Wakanda. You know what I mean? Yeah. This time going back specifically to Mississippi for research, which is where my mom's father's from, who I never had a chance to meet. He passed away before I was born. But my Uncle James, who kind of introduced me to blues music, was there until he was 20 before he moved to Oakland. And it was such a game changer for me. And having been to the continent of Africa, it really put Mississippi in context, because it was the most African place that I had ever been outside of Africa, if that makes sense. Realizing that the people there kind of affected it in such a way that parts of it were kind of indiscernible, and so in that scene, you'll see like all types of representations from West African culture. Some of them are more subtle than others. Like Zawuli dancer out of the Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire, very in your face, the big costume and all of that footwork. But it's a lot of studies about how that dance is still replicated in modern hip hop dance that you'll find and see. So it was great to make a movie about the blues that had a supernatural quality to it that helped us to put those dances and those movements right there in juxtaposition with each other, to kind of have that conversation in cinematic language. That took me, almost 40 years to realize for myself, Yeah.
Well, you covered the Jim Crow South, and we could see the influence and, on what that world was like for one group. And I think I said to you the first time we talked about this was, even though you made the Irish guy Satan, you did provide an understanding of the hard road for Irish immigrants, and you were quite taken with the music and the dance. Tell me about that for a moment.
I'm gonna give you a deep cut. There's a Disney Channel movie called The Luck of the Irish. They used to get what? God bless you. What's your name? All right, so it's a lot of fans of you in Oakland, California, right now, because we used to watch that movie like crazy. But that was our first introduction to some of the similarities in Irish folk music to basically our music, and the obsession with the movements. It's a small Irish community in the Bay. And we would talk about it. That movie was like kind of a touch point for us to jump off of, crazy enough. But we've been fascinated with that culture in my household and my family. My first name is Irish. My younger brother, who's also a screenwriter, his name's Keenan, also an Irish name. And my professor who sent me on this path, my creative writing professor in college, her name is Rosemary Graham, Irish-American author. And she was the first person to say, hey, I think you should write screenplays. She travels to Ireland at least twice a year, does classes there, and she kind of put a lot of stuff into context for me. So the film was a great opportunity. It was also a big shout out to Bram Stoker, who was Irish, and kind of gave us the first real context around the concept of a vampire in popular culture. So it just made a lot of sense to explore the character that way. But he's not Satan, though. You know what I'm saying? No, not Satan, but he definitely was we saw him as a pre-colonial Irishman, and who had this massive backstory, that we would kind of hint at and peel back like an onion. And then we got the great Jack O'Connell, who's from the UK, but his father was an Irish immigrant to the UK, and he passed away when Jack was fairly young. And Jack kind of brought the memory of his father to the role the same way that I brought the memory of my uncle. And it was a profound experience to see somebody take ownership of the film in the same way, and all of that's there in his performance. It's a beautiful performance.
Absolutely. So, I want to talk about your exceptional relationship with Michael B. And, to me, it's the one that Scorsese has with De Niro and DiCaprio, and John Woo has with Chow Yun-fat, and certain filmmakers are lucky enough to find actors who can basically almost be a vessel for the creativity in their own minds. And, and I wonder, go back to before Fruitvale Station, what did you see of Mike's that made you tell him you're a star? Even, I don't think he believed you at the time, and then talk about how far you guys have come, where he plays twin brothers, and they're different, and they are different guys completely, and you can tell who's whom, and that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's Mike's story, man. Like, he makes really, really difficult things look easy, And I always feel for him, like, when it's this time of year, because he gains weight for roles, he learns how to box, learns different accents and does all of this stuff, but he's so natural at it, that it feels like, oh yeah, Mike always could box, or he could always do this, or you got some people thinking he really has a twin brother. Where I'm from, and he's just an exceptional talent, man, and he has a lot of God-given things. You know what I mean? Like, he was born looking that way, obviously, but he has a charisma to him, that movie star charisma, where you just care about him as soon as you put the camera on him. But man, he's such a technician, and he has an unbelievable work ethic, man. And when those things match, as a director, you gotta stick with that. What I saw with Mike, obviously, was just working The Wire, but he had a crazy run, man. Right around the time we were looking for somebody to play in Fruitvale, where he did Chronicle, he did Red Tails, and he was coming off of all of this great television work with Jason Katims, where he did Friday Night Lights and Parenthood, and I knew he was great. But what's crazy was how people would talk about him. You know what I mean? Like, people who watched those shows would just talk about the characters, man. That Wallace, or that Vince. You know what I mean? Like, these characters that would bring up and kind of, I could tell that he was doing something to the audience that was special. No different from like how people would talk about Clooney when I was a kid with ER. You know what I mean? Like, it was a matter of time before this person broke out. Right. And when I met him, like, I couldn't believe that he couldn't see it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this TV thing and then this other thing. And I'm like, bro, like, we gotta do this. We gotta do this movie. We gotta show the world, like, what you can do when you're anchoring a film. Because I was watching films when he was in supporting roles, and it still felt like it was his movie, So I'll forever be blessed that he took a chance on me when we did Fruitvale, and he'll always have a job if I got a movie. You know what I mean?
I love that. And so, can we expect, and even though maybe Mike won't be there, because you killed his character, spoiler alert, in Black Panther, and best death scene you ever saw in your life. It was, again, it just harkened back to things in the world, and it just made you feel so much. But can we expect you to go back and do, I understand this guy, Denzel Washington, another guy who emerged from a television series and has done fairly well in the movie world. Yeah. He's itching to do this. How quickly will you do that third Black Panther?
I mean, man, if it was anybody with you, I would say I can either confirm or deny. But we working at it. We working on it hard. Yeah, working at it hard.
So it's next. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's the next movie.
Yeah, next movie.
Yeah.
So now, and we got a break because he is in high demand. He just got out of a car and ran on stage. He's got to get in a car and run someplace else. I'm not in demand at all, so I'm available for anything you guys want to talk about. But I did want to ask you, you put so much into this, and there's a universality. and I felt things that were unique to me. And what do you hope audiences take away from this film, which is so much more than a genre film? But who doesn't like a good genre film, right?
Yeah. For me, I would be satisfied if people have a good time at the movies. And what I love is like when I hear about it being people's first time doing things, because it's a 100-year-old medium, right? But like if somebody says, "Hey, your movie was the first time I went to see something in IMAX and I loved it," you know, or if somebody says, "Hey, your movie was the first movie I saw twice," you know, in the theater. Or I love when people, you know, because I got 3 kids now. We talk about this stuff, but I love when like people say when I was in Berlin, one of the filmmakers said he went to go see it, and he had a teenage daughter who doesn't go to the movies, and he went home to her and said, "Hey, yo, you gotta see this," and he took his daughter. They went back like a daddy-daughter date for this crazy ass movie, and she loved it, and then she took her friends, you know. So for me, like, a good time at the movies is enough, and if it can evangelize anybody, you know, like in terms of the type of the way they went to go see it, or the experience that they had, that for me is the biggest gift. That's the biggest gift a filmmaker can have, you know, in my opinion. And it seems like this movie is doing that for us.
Wow. So it's like a church with concessions and popcorn.
Exactly. The Church of Cinema. Yeah.
Well, man, listen, I really appreciate you being so generous and making time for us here. And I got to turn this over to my colleague, Antonia. And she's got a raffle for appetizer. And then there's food. So I guess a shout out to Chef Boyardee or something. But, you know, Ron, you know how much you mean to me and how your films have touched me in ways we don't have to get into here. But you keep doing what you're doing. You're one of a kind.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.